Hello and happy new year and welcome to 2026. Thank you for stopping by the Academic Convenience Store. And so I wanted to jump on in here because just like we are starting out a new year, there are some new education laws that are coming down the pipe that will be implemented this year 2026. And so I wanted to go ahead and comment on a few of these bills that are coming through, new laws and regulations as it relates to some of the education laws. One of the ones I wanted to talk about today is the AB or Assembly Bill 461. 461 is basically a bill that says a parent can no longer go to jail for their child being truant. Now, how many of you knew that a parent could go to jail if their child did not go to school regularly? Okay, so before I give my opinion on my side of the fence, is number one, all students should be in school regularly as much as possible. Number two, I do believe parents are responsible for their child attending school every day or regularly. And number three is, students have to be in school regularly in order for the most learning to occur. So basically, if a child is not in school, how can we expect them to learn at their very best? And so that being said, should a parent go to jail if their child is truant? Well, let's look into the definition of truancy. Basically, the dictionary definition basically says is very simple, is that the action of staying away from school without a good reason. So as you all, especially many parents out there are very aware that you are supposed to be sending a note to the school as to why your child was out of school. Typically truancy, the standard I believe is that if you're missing 3 unexcused days, you're considered truant. Also, the other standard or guideline is that if you're missing 10% of the school year, so typically schools run about 180 days or 185 days. That's about 18 days you can't miss or you're considered truant. Now, but I guess the bottom line is, should a parent still go to prison or to jail for their child not attending school regularly or have unexcused absences or severe unexcused absences? That's a good question. One of the things that I believe is that I don't think a parent should go to jail. However, there should be some type of action or intervention in place that can help these parents and families with the challenges that are occurring as to why this child is not attending school regularly. And why are there any notices or medical notes or things like that explains the reason the child is out of school. Putting a parent in prison for this or in jail for this. I mean, what are we going to have? Kids that are not, without any parents, and now their child may go into foster care or something like that. So I believe, give the parents and families intervention services, the school or school community, provide wraparound services, getting down to the bottom of what is going on, some type of action plan that the parents must follow. I believe the other alternative was that if you don't go to jail, there's a fine to pay. Now, if this continues to where a lot of times a school may submit a family to what's called a SARB review, which is a school attendance review board. And so once you're submitted there's usually some type of action plan that has to be put in place to get the student back into a regular classroom schedule. If that does not follow through well, school districts do have the right to submit the family to like a juvenile law court or like to a district attorney for further measures. And so in my experience, I have had students with challenging, very severe attendance records where they're just not showing up. And I didn't know where the child was. I've asked the office. I know last year I had a very chronic absenteeism for a few students, and one in particular, the child would just kind of randomly show back up. I would ask, what's been going on. Sometimes they'd give me a wild story. Eventually, the counselor did end up knocking on some doors, kind of find out the child, I don't believe the family was living in the actual district area. So that's a concern sometimes, where families don't live in the area, or they're just using someone else's address. I've had a situation where a child refused to come inside of the building, where literally, apparently, I found out that the parent can't get them out of the car, and they're just sitting in the car, or they'll somehow get him out of the car, or he'd end up in the building but won't go into the classroom, or he'd be sitting on a bench somewhere. And we've got our special needs students that might require some special attention. I've had students, I once, at a time where I was an education specialist for the county, and there were quite a few students I would have to review that were cases that were submitted for SARB reviews, and reaching out to the school sites and finding out what's going on. I had a case one time where the mom says, hey, look, I'm giving my son's bus passes, and they have a bus pass to get to school every morning. She had to work, so she believes her children were in school, but they were catching a bus to some other place. So not sure what they were doing on the bus routes, but they were not catching the bus to school. And so in these cases, all of the cases will be measured based off of everybody's situation. So it's not just like, automatically these parents are going to go to jail. No, they're looking at the individual situations to see, what's going on, and if the parents are held responsible enough to go to jail. But as of now, according to AB 461, parents will not be mandated to go to prison if their child is truant. And so I think it's a positive law that's in place, because we got to find other measures and get down to the root of the problem as to why a student is not going to school regularly. It is required that all students are in school or enrolled from the ages of 6, I believe, all the way through 18 years old. And so that is a law that is in place. And so we, rather than sending a parent to jail for truancy, for their child being truant, what other measures can we take to assist these families and these students, to find out what the root of the problem is. So yes, I am in favor of AB 461. Tell me your thoughts. What are your comments, questions, or concerns about this new law?